My question is how to stay patient while making something great.
So kind of two thoughts. One is the emotional side of it, and one is the rational side of it. So on the emotional side of it, I think a friend of mine, I can't take credit for this, but I think this is the right answer. He came up with this, which is basically you have to do something where even if you fail, you're proud that you tried. And that's the bar, that's the emotional bar for doing a startup. And if you think about it and you say, it's easy to be excited about it when you think you're going to succeed. It's really hard when you're like, this is definitely going to fail. And if you sort of run through that exercise, like literally every day, and you're like, if this failed, would I be proud that I tried? And would I be able to deal with the consequences of everybody thinking I'm a failure, but I'm still proud that I tried? That will get you through the emotional part of it. And I think for a lot of people, they don't actually cross that bar. And that's actually what leads to, like, the root of a lot of the stress is like, it's predicated on success rather than predicated on the product or predicated on the users that you're serving or the problem that you're solving, right? So that's kind of on the emotional side, is I think the bar has to be, if I do this and I fail, am I still proud that I tried? On the rational side of it, I think you have to come up with intermediate milestones where while you're building it, you can measure progress. So, for example, you don't need 1 million users. If you have 10 users and your week over week retention is amazing, you can plot that retention curve and you're like, okay, this is working. And now I figure out how to survive so that I can go get 20 users, 30 users, and 100 users. And you keep plotting that retention curve. If you're pre-launch, there's some measure of quality of your product, right? Which is how good is my product relative to the incumbents and to the alternatives. And therefore I can measure progress by saying my product is at least better. And then when I get it in the hands of customers, I can figure out if anybody actually wants that dimension of better. But I think you have to come up with these like micro measures. And ideally those micro measures are things that you can evaluate on like, a daily or a weekly basis. Because if you don't have feedback coming in very quickly, then you'll probably end up building the wrong thing or making the wrong thing. So that's how I think about it. On the emotional side, it has to be something you're proud of, even if you fail. And on the rational side, you have to be really disciplined about picking metrics that you can measure that make sure that you're making progress.
Thank you. Great answer. Actually, my question is really like influenced by a new competitor that launched like 2 hours ago. So you can feel like that's like fresh out of the that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck. It's actually, I'll say, a lot of the times competition is good, right? Because that validates that you're not a crazy person. Because if you're the only person that has an idea, like the odds that you're crazy might be really high. Right? Whereas if there are like 3 to 5 really smart people that say, hey, wait a second, I think this might be an opportunity, that's actually kind of positive, because then you're not a crazy person. There's like a small group of crazy people is way better than one crazy person. And both of those are worse than like everybody thinks it's the right thing to do, because if everybody thinks it's the right thing to do, it's almost certainly a bad thing to do.
Yeah.
So actually a couple people doing it is probably really positive.